20th, Winterville Planning and Zoning Board meeting to order. Because we have members in persons and members online, we'll do a quick roll call to ensure that we have a quorum for public notice, public records.
Gregory Monroe,
Here.
Douglas Killian,
Here.
Peggy Clyburn,
Here.
Margie Crawford, Rondi Fleming,
Here.
Darlene Gardner,
Present.
Michael Weldon.
All right, we do satisfy a quorum. We call the meeting now to order. Welcome to board members online, board members here in the boardroom. We do have two citizens in our audience, board members, just for your information. Do we have any excused absences?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'll elaborate. The two gentlemen in the audience are Richie Brown with Stroud Engineering and Mr. David Evans. So they're the applicant for the proposed new business tonight. It's regarding the excused absences. Miss Margie Crawford has tendered her resignation from the board, so she will no longer be a part of our planning and zoning board. I do want to take time to thank her for her years of volunteering, her time, and her efforts for the betterment of the town. So she was appreciated, and I understand why she had to resign. So we'll be looking to fill that along with the other vacant positions very soon. But other than that, I don't have any other excused absence, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. You've had a chance to review the agenda for this evening. We'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda for September 20th Planning and Zoning Board meeting.
Motion to approve, Doug Killian. Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Please vote upon roll call.
Gregory Monroe,
Aye.
Douglas Killian,
Aye.
Rondi Fleming,
Aye.
Ms. Clyburn,
Aye.
Darlene Gardner,
Aye.
Tucker Moore.
Aye.
The agenda stands approved. You've had a chance to review your minutes from the August regular meeting. We entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the August Planning and Zoning Board meeting.
Fleming, so moved. Gardner, second.
Been moved and properly second. All those in favor, please vote upon roll call.
Gregory Monroe,
Aye.
Douglas Killian,
Aye.
Peggy Clyburn,
Aye.
Rondi Fleming,
Aye.
Darlene Gardner,
Aye.
Tucker Moore.
Thank you. New business, staff.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'm going to go through a little bit of what the proposed zoning text amendment is. So from time to time, we'll have applicants, not staff members or outside the public will want to see something different in the zoning ordinance, and that's the case here. So the zoning text amendment we have before you tonight is a dimensional requirements in the R10 district. So your applicant is David Evans, Jr. As stated before, he is present to answer any questions you guys might have later. But the proposed zoning text amendment per the application is in the R10 district, change the minimum lot width from 80 feet to 70 feet and change the side yard setback from 10 feet to 8 feet. The other dimensional standards would remain the same. So per their reasoning for it, the amendment will allow more flexibility in the design of a subdivision in the R10 district without compromise of lot area and the maximum density. So The current ordinance is more conducive to ranch-style homes, which were in vogue at the time of the adoption of the ordinance, but are not popular in today's market. So in addition to that, so looking at the way the dimensional requirements flow in the dimensional table, for consistency, staff would also ask that the Planning and Zoning Board consider reducing the side yard setbacks in R8 and R6. And I'll show you a little bit what I'm talking about in a second, but in those two districts also go from 10 feet to 8 feet, if so inclined. But, so you can see here, try to get this. So you can see here the proposed zoning district, or zoning text amendment per the application. And you guys can see, here is the lot width 70 feet and then 8 feet from 10 feet. So, to this. So here in your amendment summary, you can see the red strike through is the current language. The highlighted one beside the strike through is the proposed language. So you can see in the R10, the applicant's proposing to go from 80-foot lot width to 70, and then the setbacks from 10 to 8. Below it in the R8 and the R6, this is where staff is asking the board to consider going from 10 to 8 and 10 to 8 in R8 and R6. That's just to make it flow a little bit better. Obviously, it doesn't make sense for smaller lots to have a larger side setback if we're looking to approve this. So that's the only reason we're trying to just make it consistent with the larger lots. So when we get a text amendment, generally our first thing to do is look at other municipalities. So our common practice is to look at neighboring communities and similar positioned communities. So the first one we look at is Ayden. So you can see there highlighted, their 10,000 square foot lot has a 60-foot lot width and an 8-foot side setback. So a little bit smaller than what we're looking at. So instead of 70, they got 60, being consistent with the 8-foot. And then it kind of dwindles down when they're 8,000, 6,000, and you can see that. But the main one we're looking at obviously is their R10 comparable 60-foot and 8-foot side setbacks. Wake Forest, so these, sometimes it's kind of like doing apples and oranges, and sometimes you're trying to match up with what their zoning district is called compared to ours. But you can see here, their general residential 3 is a 10,000 square foot lot. They actually have a 50-foot lot width, and they do have an 8-foot side setback. So you can probably catch on to what we're doing here. Pretty much all of them are going to be in line with what the applicant is doing. Wendell, their R3 residential 3 is a 10,000 square foot. They have a 60-foot lot width, and then also an 8-foot side setback. I'm getting feedback. So we did look at a couple other ones, but their tables were a little bit hard to read, so I just kind of put them up here. Farmville, we like to look at. They have their most comparable residential district is an 8,000 square foot lot. They actually have a 75-foot lot width requirement there, but they do have the 8-foot side setback, so comparable on both ends. Wilson, theirs is a lot more aggressive than what we would. They call it medium and low density, which was their medium density would be 4,000 square foot lots, and low density is 6,000 square foot lots. So really small compared to what we would do, but they actually go down to a 50-foot lot width and a 5-yard setback. So I put all that in front of you guys just so you know we're not recreating the wheel. We're not doing something out of the norm, or that the application is not something out of the norm, that other communities do it. So with that, the proposed text amendment is consistent with similar and neighboring municipalities. So that with that reasoning, planning staff would support it and recommend approval. But I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have. And like I said before, Mr. David Evans and Richie Brown are in the audience for any questions you guys would have.
Thank you. Board members, are there any questions or comments that you would like to share at this time?
This is Darlene Gardner. I do have a question. How would it affect the change of the setback distance, affect the spacing or the allowance for sidewalks? Because it seems, if I'm understanding it correctly, to sidewalks, is that correct?
So that, the difference between that would be the front or the minimum building line to the street. That wouldn't change in an R10 district. So going back to ours, so you can see here, right beside the strike through 80, where the highlight is 70, that's the lot width. 25 would be the minimum building line. So for the front of the lot, that wouldn't change. So the only thing they're looking at is the sides. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Doug Killian, question. I think you answered it in your explanation, but I just want to make sure I clearly understand. And the total square footage of the lot will remain consistent with 10,000 square feet
Yes.
and 8,000?
Yep. Yeah, that wouldn't change. The total square footage wouldn't change. The only thing you're looking at is the lot width and the side setback.
Can anyone tell me there how this will affect how much closer together the houses will be? Does that put the houses 4 foot closer together? Is that about right?
Essentially, so yeah, you're taking 10 from each side and going to 8. So yeah, I mean, the math on it is exactly right, 4 feet closer. So instead of 20 feet, the minimum would be 20 feet going to the minimum being 16 feet. So, and obviously it depends on the design of the subdivision, the layout, the road network, topography, all the ins and outs of designing a subdivision. So that's the closest they would ever be together, 16 feet in an R10 district. Well, and if you consider the R8 and the R6, the closest they would ever be together is 16 feet.
And again, is this a consideration of changing this for economic reasons for the developer? Or what is the real reason behind this change?
So I'm gonna,
Mr. Evans gonna speak to that?
yep, I'll let Mr. Evans or Richie, whoever wants to talk about it.
Good afternoon, board members. Since you're,
Who are we listening to? I can't see.
I'm Richie Brown with Stroud Engineering. Since we're still working with the same amount of lot area, I don't foresee this being necessarily additional lots within a subdivision. While your lots are getting narrower, they're also getting deeper by about 20 feet in order to make up that difference. Just the ranch-style homes, the wider homes, we're not seeing those as much today as we were before. They're closer to being square in shape. I mean, still rectangular, but they're just not as wide, but they're deeper. And we just feel like this gives the developer a little more flexibility in a subdivision.
So typically the house would be a story or a story and a half or a 2-story, is that correct?
Yes, sir, potentially. That's pretty common right now.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions or comment from board members or staff or from the applicant? Okay, if there be none, we entertain a motion with the request to amend the zoning text as presented by staff.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and properly second. Please vote your pleasure upon roll call.
Gregory Monroe,
Aye.
Douglas Killian,
Aye.
Peggy Clyburn. Ms. Clyburn? Ms. Clyburn?
I responded, aye.
Thank you. Rondi Fleming,
Aye.
Darlene Gardner,
You're on mute.
Aye.
thank you. Tucker Moore.
Aye.
Okay, the amendment request has been approved. Report from staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So you guys saw my monthly report. So we're, yes, sir, we'll be in touch, Mr. Evans. Thank you. So single-family residential was kind of starting to take off a little bit. We had probably our busiest month with that, with 13 last month. I do expect a whole lot more coming the remainder of the year. I think you guys probably know by now, but the rezoning request for the Sutton Capital Group, it got denied at council, but the other three we had last month for Pitt County Farms, the Aquatic Holdings, and the Alfred McLaughlin rezoning were all approved. So we did get Holly Grove Section 2 final platted, so we've got that recorded, so we'll be seeing a lot more homes going in there, obviously. But other than that, staying really busy with developers being really interested in town, so we're getting the calls every day from, it's really interesting. We're seeing a lot of new developers in town, actually meeting with some, so they're not just doing, cold calls, trying to see what they're actually interested in coming to Winterville, so it's exciting. But other than that, Mr. Chairman, that's all I got right now. Looking forward to a lot more activity coming up the rest of the year, so.
All right. Thank you, staff. Comments from board.
Doug Killian, yes. Brian, I listened to the town council meeting on YouTube in a live session, but the audio was terrible. Could you help me understand what the reasoning was for denying the subdivision rezoning?
I'll say I think the major 3 points that council was concerned about was sidewalks, flooding, and traffic. I did think we did touch on the sidewalks. I know that was one of the big things we had talked about in our meeting prior. The developer did seem very amenable to putting them in. They actually showed it on both sides in a portion of the subdivision, not the entire thing. But those are the three main points that I took away from the meeting that they wanted to be addressed before they would, or that was the reason for the denial. So.
Can you help me understand one other thing? And I'm showing my ignorance here, but please bear with me.
No, yeah.
The main 11 or the subdivision that went through the Board of Adjustments, that does not have to go to the town council for approval, is that correct?
The preliminary plat will, but the zoning's already in place, so it's allowed by right. So at the point the preliminary plat's in place or has been submitted and approved by, or gone through review, so they've already shown they've met the town's requirements. So at that point, really, council, I won't say is obligated to approve it, but at that point, they're just making sure that the development meets the zoning ordinance requirements and the subdivision requirements.
It just sounds to me like if the Sutton Group wanted to make an end run around this, they would have gone through the Board of Adjustments. And even though we approved it, we felt it was, as a planning and zoning, we approved it, I believe, 6-1.
Actually, it was 7-1.
Disappointing.
But no, and so the situation with the 11 at Main, so there was, it's already zoned. The current zoning allows for that development they put there. The issue with, so the only thing that is different between what 11 and Main did and what all our other single family residential developments do is they have to get a special use permit before they can move forward with the actual development proposal. So it's just another step that the zoning ordinance, when you look at the table of permitted uses, the zoning ordinance gives you a use that's permitted by right or a use that's permitted by a special use permit. A multifamily development, no matter what development or what zoning district is in, has to be approved through a special use permit before it can submit development plans. So it's just an extra step for multifamily developments to make sure that they adhere to the town's ordinance requirements, and most of those special use requirements are going to be dimensional requirements and access requirements. So they have to make sure they have those in place before they can submit any type of site plans, preliminary plot plans, or I'm sorry, preliminary plans. So that's the difference there. This case right now, with the Sutton Capital Group or any other rezoning to a residential subdivision or residential zoning district, has to go before council to get that residential zoning district that they want to develop their subdivision under. So in this case right now, as you guys know, it's AR. They were going for multiple zoning districts to allow them to put the lot sizes like they wanted in each section. So, and that's where they have to get zoning approval first, which is a legislative decision that the council makes. So that's a broad discretion. The council can either approve or deny on them really with that broad discretion. So.
And the vote was 4-1, correct, against it?
Yes, sir. It was a motion to deny and seconded, and then 4-1 vote to deny. I do feel like they'll probably come back with another proposal. So they're still trying to work that out on their end, I think. But from everything I've been in talks with the applicant, that they're going to try to address council's concerns and come back and see if they can get a favorable vote then. So.
Brian, and I'm sorry, I'm going to keep with you just so I can get everything. Sometimes in the Zoom, the audio fades in and out. I heard one of the reasons was sidewalks, which we talked about. The second was flooding, and the third one was traffic. Is that true?
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, and to be more specific, I guess I should say stormwater, not flooding, but I mean, they're hand in hand. So it was specifically mentioned stormwater, really not flooding, but like I said, hand in hand. So yeah, traffic, stormwater, and the sidewalks.
And when we accept a plat, the engineer has to sign off that the stormwater is accounted for according to current standards, and the traffic will be okay according to current standards, and the sidewalks are okay according to current standards when we sign off on a final plat, correct?
That's right. Yes, sir.
So if they would approve this, and you're going to do a supposition here, if the town would have approved this, the plat that the Sutton people would have to come back with would have had to meet all of these requirements, wouldn't it?
Yes, if the rezoning was approved, then they would have been allowed to submit a preliminary plat, and that preliminary plat would have been reviewed to make sure it meets all of the town of Winterville's ordinance requirements.
Thank you. I was just very disappointed with town council at that meeting. Thank you.
Yep.
Anything from any other board members? If not, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Been moved and properly second. Please vote your favor upon roll call.
Mr. Fleming, was that you that seconded?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. Gregory Monroe,
Aye.
Douglas Killian,
Aye.
Peggy Clyburn, Rondi Fleming,
Aye.
Darlene Gardner,
Aye.
Tucker Moore.
Aye.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This meeting stands adjourned.
Thanks, everybody. See y'all.